For many good reasons, you are probably much more willing to be dropped into the middle of nowhere on land rather than in the ocean or sea. After all, it does appear that once you venture into the depths, life starts to become more disturbing, and this seems to be a common trend throughout history, as every point in time often has an animal or two lurking around in the waters that was far scarier than anything found on land. One thing that nicely sums this up is the fact that nearly every major extinction event throughout Earth's history hit marine life harder than terrestrial animals, with mass die-offs regularly emptying the oceans of their most terrifying inhabitants, only for new nightmares to evolve and take their place. Among those aquatic hellscapes mentioned throughout history included Devonian seas, home to giant armored fish, with guillotine jaws, Jurassic waters filled with colossal marine reptiles, and even the Miocene Ocean that was patrolled by the largest shark of all time. However, all of this paled in comparison to one body of water that existed for over 200 million years during the Mesozoic and early Cenozoic, and was home to numerous animals that would put much of the marine predators of today and yesterday to shame. Some of these beasts you may have heard of, yet many didn't make the cut, despite definitely being worthy of tingling your thalassophobia and adding more reason as to why this body of water was absolutely the worst place to go swimming ever. Welcome, my friends, to the Tethys Ocean, or as some people might call it, the mother of all nightmares. While you may have never heard of this prehistoric ocean, there is a fair chance you've walked across what's left of it, or at least seen remnants of it if you've ever visited the Himalayas, the Alps, the Zagros Mountains, or even Mount Everest, because when it was filled with water, it was one of the most significant bodies of water on the planet. And in the process, it separated the ancient supercontinents of Gondwana to the south and Laurasia to the north. This state of existence persisted for an absolutely staggering amount of time, roughly 200 million years, from the late Triassic period around 250 million years ago, all the way through to the early Miocene epoch, about 20 million years ago. And throughout this immense time span, sea monsters could be found at every point. But some periods were unarguably worse than others, with the Tethys Ocean reaching its climax in deadliness during multiple eras, but none more so than the late Cretaceous, spanning between 166 million years ago. At the time, the Tethys was warm and tropical in nature, stretching from what is now the Caribbean all the way to the modern-day Himalayas, measuring over 15,000 kilometers or 9,300 miles at its longest point. This made it far more extensive than the Mediterranean Sea, which is its most direct descendant. Additionally, it was moderately deep for its size, possibly reaching depths of 4,000 meters or 13,000 feet in some areas, compared to an average depth of around 1,000 meters or 3,300 feet. Yet, despite being smaller than modern oceans, the Tethys still managed to cram in a ridiculous amount of nightmarish predators that were routinely larger or scarier than most of the predatory dinosaurs seen on land. And unlike other prehistoric seas, the Tethys had the unique distinction of hosting terror for an unbelievably long time, meaning that evolution had plenty of opportunities to perfect the art of creating aquatic killing machines. By far the most famous of these aquatic monsters, and likely the worst to swim into during the late Cretaceous, were the Mosasaurs. This was an extinct group of aquatic reptiles that could grow to massive sizes and were characterized by body shapes similar to that of monitor lizards. However, unlike their modern-day relatives, Mosasaurs had 4 paddle-like flippers instead of limbs, and their bodies were elongated and streamlined for maximum efficiency in the water. Depending on how advanced the species was, these animals would have swum like an eel in an undulating fashion, or, as in later developed mosasaurs, like a shark, as they had larger tail flukes that they used to propel themselves with surprising speed. These powerful swimmers completely dominated certain regions of the Tethys Ocean, often being the biggest predators and sporting highly specialized teeth that were typically large, sharp, and sometimes serrated. Their success ultimately resulted in them enjoying a high level of diversification, particularly in the Tethys, as over 16 species are known to have coexisted in North African waters alone, ranging from 3 meters or 10 feet to possibly 12 meters or 40 feet in length. But despite their diversity, chances are you would have been most terrified by 3 particular types: the Prognathodon, the Hinosaurus, and the absolutely monstrous Thalassotitan. Prognathodon was moderately sized, but still terrifying, with certain species growing up to 14 meters or 46 feet in length, similar to the length of a large killer whale, although it was much more robust. This came with its own advantages, as it allowed it to tackle heavily armored prey with ease. It used its powerful jaws and relatively blunt teeth to crush through turtle shells, ammonite armor, and even the bones of other marine reptiles within the deeper parts of the tethys. And while it might not have been the fastest mosasaur around, this mid-sized predator was still capable of inflicting catastrophic damage on anything it could catch. Things start to further ramp up when moving to Hinosaurus, as this abundant mosasaur was quite a bit bigger, with certain individuals measuring 15 meters or 49 feet from head to tail, while weighing around 4 tons, close to the weight of a large elephant seal. At this size, Hinosaurus should hopefully raise your thalassophobia more than Prognathodon, and it certainly deserves to, as studies on its teeth have found them to be extremely well adapted for slicing through flesh, with laterally compressed recurved teeth that resembled those of a giant barracuda. Paleontologists speculate that it used a sawing motion to dismember large prey within the open waters of the tethys. It might start looking like this was the worst place ever for medium to large-sized animals. But don't relax too much, as there was an even more nightmarish mosasaur prowling around, Thalassotitan. This mosasaur was in most ways built like a killing machine, with everything about it designed for maximum lethality. Adults were anywhere from 9 to 12 meters or 30 to 40 feet long, fairly similar to the length of a large great white shark, but far more massive, making it one of the most robust mosasaurs to ever exist. And unlike Prognathodon or Hinosaurus, Thalassotitan had teeth that were absolutely no joke. Mature individuals possessed massive conical teeth, remarkably similar to those of modern killer whales, large, thick, and built for gripping and tearing, perfectly adapted for seizing other marine reptiles and ripping them apart. Thanks to its specialized build, Thalassotitan could pretty much attack anything it wanted to in its environment, playing the role of a mega predator that specifically hunted other apex predators. And it routinely preyed on a range of animals, something reflected by fossil evidence found nearby, as damaged remains have included plesiosaurs, sea turtles, large fish, sharks, and even other mosasaurs, all showing signs of having been partially digested. Thalassotitan is believed to have mostly utilized ambushes during these hunts, where it would strike unsuspecting prey with tremendous bite force, and possibly deploy a unique hunting strategy as well. This is based on its teeth, which show extensive wear and breakage patterns, indicating that this mosasaur regularly bit into bone and shell, something necessary when tackling heavily armored prey. The teeth of Thalassotitan is quite unique, with enlarged, robust conical crowns fitted with fine serrations. This design was similar to those seen in killer whale, meaning that the front teeth were designed for puncturing and gripping, while the back teeth helped process food, leading to the belief that Thalassotitan literally functioned as the orca of the late Cretaceous. And evidence shows that Thalassotitan was quite successful with this strategy, being a hyper-aggressive animal that left its mark throughout the fossil record, with numerous specimens showing bite marks and damaged bones that match its dentition. Don't get it twisted, though. Mosasaurs weren't the only reptilian apex predators in the tethys. There were also some familiar faces lurking around that deserve just as much attention. This prehistoric ocean not only had some of the deadliest mosasaurs of all time, but various species of marine crocodilians as well. Currently, scientists have found evidence of multiple types inhabiting the tethys, with some being fully aquatic, while others were semi-aquatic apex predators that patrolled coastlines and estuaries. One of the better-known species was Ossipasuchus, a gavialoid crocodilian that lived during the late Cretaceous, around 66 million years ago. Scientists aren't entirely certain about the full extent of its presence, but it's thought that it definitely inhabited shallow marine environments while perhaps venturing into deeper waters from time to time, since specimens have been found in marine deposits alongside mosasaurs and plesiosaurs. Furthermore, it had anatomical features that suggest a life spent primarily in salt water, with adaptations for swimming and hunting fish in open water. Ossipasuchus was moderately sized compared to some prehistoric crocodilians, growing to around 3 to 4 meters or 10 to 13 feet in length. This obviously isn't very close to the length of the largest mosasaurs, though Ossipasuchus made up for its smaller size with specialization, as like many gavialoids, it had an elongated narrow snout filled with numerous sharp interlocking teeth. These adaptations made Ossipisuchus extremely efficient at catching fish and other small marine animals in the warm waters of the Tethys. However, what sets apart this particular crocodilian from others is that it shared the Tethys with some of the most dangerous predators to ever exist, meaning that it had to carve out its own niche to survive. Overall, these adaptations made Ossipisuchus one of the better adapted animals for catching fast-moving prey. But what really characterized the crocodilians of the Tethys was their diversity. Various species had different hunting strategies and occupied different ecological niches, with some being specialized fish eaters, while others were generalist predators. All of this resulted in a situation where crocodilians persisted throughout the entire existence of the Tethys, alongside the Mosasaurs, Plesiosaurs, and later the early whales, making them one of the most successful groups of marine predators in Earth's history. The coasts and estuaries of this prehistoric ocean were no doubt dangerous places to be if you were trying to avoid large predators, but the more open waters were home to their own share of nightmares too, including rather peculiar cephalopods, to say the least. Cretaceous cephalopods, like those of today, were found throughout various depths, but they held a much more impressive size range compared to modern equivalents. Despite not being as consistently large as the mosasaurs or marine crocodiles, they still managed to become formidable predators in their own right, as Tethys ocean cephalopods were among the most diverse of their kind, even rivaling the biodiversity seen in modern oceans today, but with far more variety in body plans. One of the standout groups from those times were the ammonites, ancient relatives of the modern nautilus that dominated the Mesozoic seas. These shelled creatures were incredibly diverse in the Tethys, with hundreds of species ranging from tiny coin-sized forms to absolutely massive specimens that could rival small cars in diameter. While most ammonites were relatively harmless filter feeders or small prey hunters, there were some truly massive species that commanded respect. Parapuzosia, for instance, was among the largest known ammonites and the heaviest cephalopod of all time, with shells that could reach diameters of up to 3.5 meters or 11.5 feet. This means that the complete animal, including soft tissue, probably weighed well over 1.5 tons, with nearly half of that weight coming from the shell alone. If you could somehow convince one of these giants to uncurl, it's thought that their body would stretch to a total length of around 18 meters or 59 feet, about twice the length of a killer whale. Such size gave Parapuzosia not just impressive bulk, but also made it a formidable presence in the midwater zones of the Tethys. But what it did with this size remains somewhat mysterious, as all ammonites went extinct at the end of the Cretaceous, rendering their exact behaviors unknown. What we do know is that individuals could be found throughout the Tethys Ocean and tended to stick to upper layers of water, typically not venturing below 250 meters or 820 feet. This meant that, unlike giant squids of today, these behemoths weren't lurking in the abyss, but were instead common sights in relatively shallow water. Finding one of these creatures may not have been immediately dangerous, as some think they were relatively sluggish and possibly fed primarily on small prey or plankton. However, on the flip side, the sheer size of these animals meant that even an accidental encounter could be deadly. Not to mention that other paleontologists argue they were active hunters that could have used their tentacles to capture fish and even small marine reptiles. It's quite shocking that this giant, bizarre invertebrate could be found in the same waters that also housed the largest mosasaurs and numerous marine crocodiles, making the Tethys Ocean seem like something out of a monster. But wait, there's more. Because alongside these shelled cephalopods, you also had early relatives of modern squids and octopuses. And at the very same time, there were horrors swimming around that we are slightly more familiar with, including sharks. They may not have been the undisputed kings of the Cretaceous Tethys, but they were still highly successful, playing the role of both scavengers and active predators, while also being among the most commonly found carnivores around. Like many marine animals, these Mesozoic sharks apparently had a tendency toward larger sizes, as a few types found in the Tethys were among the most impressive known from their time. However, in contrast to something like Thalassotitan, size didn't always correlate with increased danger, since some of the biggest sharks were actually relatively docile filter feeders. Yet, there were definitely exceptions, and one shark in particular stands out as truly nightmarish: Squalocorax, also known as the crow shark. This was a medium-sized shark, typically measuring between 2 and 5 meters, or 6.5 to 16.4 feet in length, similar to the size range of modern bull sharks. Its resemblance to modern predatory sharks went beyond just its size, as its teeth were remarkably similar to those of tiger sharks, numerous, curved, and finely serrated, perfect for cutting and sawing through tough tissue. With such deadly dentition, the crow shark was capable of devouring many kinds of prey, largely consisting of fish, other sharks, smaller marine reptiles, and even scavenged dinosaur carcasses that washed out to sea from nearby coastal areas. Another notable feature of Squalocorax was that it appears to have been quite opportunistic and adaptable, hunting in both shallow coastal waters and venturing into deeper offshore environments, following the scent of blood and decaying matter for miles. Additionally, Squalocorax developed a rather unique skill that set it apart from other sharks of its time, hunting pterosaurs, the rulers of the sky. Multiple specimens have been found with Squalocorax bite marks on their bones, namely the large pterosaur pteranodon, indicating that this shark had excellent vision and timing, which it used to ambush pterosaurs when they were diving for fish. And speaking of fish, crow sharks were exceptionally good at hunting them too, with many fossil specimens containing large amounts of fish remains within their stomach regions. Among the fish that have been found were several species that really stood out to paleontologists, since they too were famous predators of the Tethys Ocean. But things get even worse, because this wasn't the only terrifying shark prowling around. There were also larger, more specialized species lurking in the depths, including Cretalamna, coral shark, that could reach lengths of up to 5 meters or 16.4 feet and possessed formidable cutting teeth designed for taking down substantial prey. Cretalamna likely occupied a similar ecological niche to modern great white sharks, being an apex predator that hunted marine mammals, fish, and possibly even juvenile mosasaurs when the opportunity arose. Fossil evidence supports this idea, as Cretalamna teeth have been found embedded in the bones of various marine reptiles, suggesting active predation rather than simple scavenging behavior. Yep, that's right. Even the sharks of the Cretaceous Tethys weren't content to just hunt fish and smaller prey. They went after big game whenever possible, making them yet another nightmare to add to the ever-growing list of reasons why this ocean was pure horror. You may be thinking that with mosasaurs, crocodilians, massive cephalopods, and aggressive sharks, the Tethys couldn't possibly fit in more predators, but you'd be wrong, because there were also numerous species of predatory bony fish that commanded respect. Among these nightmarish fish was Encotis, a genus that thrived throughout the Cretaceous and is often referred to as the saber-toothed herring, though that name doesn't quite capture how terrifying this fish actually was. Encotis species ranged in size from modest 1 meter or 3.3 feet specimens to larger individuals reaching 1.5 meters or 5 feet in length. While that might not sound particularly impressive for a prehistoric predator, what made Encotis truly fearsome was its dentition. The fish possessed enormous fang-like teeth at the front of its jaws, several centimeters long, designed specifically for impaling prey. These teeth were so prominent, they gave the fish its saber-toothed nickname, and they were backed up by smaller but still sharp teeth throughout the rest of the mouth. Fossil evidence shows that Encotis was an active predator that fed on other fish and possibly small marine reptiles, with its fangs being used to pin struggling prey before swallowing it whole. The fish was also relatively fast and agile, making it an effective hunter in the open waters of the Tethys, where it could chase down prey or ambush them from below using its streamlined body. Remarkably, possible remains of Encotis victims have been discovered as well, with some specimens showing partially digested fish bones, indicating that this predator had a voracious appetite and wasn't particularly picky about what it ate. Interestingly, Encotis didn't always win, as many Encotis fossils have been found inside the stomachs of larger predators like mosasaurs and sharks, demonstrating that even fearsome predators could become prey in the cutthroat environment of the Tethys Ocean. These saber-toothed fish were definitely among the more intimidating bony fish you could encounter, but they weren't alone, as the Tethys was also home to numerous other predatory fish species, including early relatives of modern barracudas and various large ray-finned fish that filled similar ecological niches. The cumulative effect of all these fish predators was that virtually every depth zone and habitat in the Tethys had something with sharp teeth waiting to attack, making it nearly impossible to find a safe refuge anywhere in these ancient waters. And so, with all of this said, the Tethys Ocean had no doubt accumulated some of the most terrifying marine predators ever assembled, making life fairly interesting for anything trying to survive in these waters. But you really can't forget that there was one more iconic group present throughout much of the Tethys' existence: the Plesiosaurs. These marine reptiles, like the Mosasaurs, had 4 flippers, but the similarities stopped there. Plesiosaurs had broad, flat bodies and came in 2 distinct body plans. Some had ridiculously long necks with relatively small heads, while others, called pliosaurs, had short necks and absolutely massive skulls. Both types would have used their flippers in a flying motion through the water, and different species occupied various niches within the Tethys ecosystem, from shallow coastal waters to deeper offshore regions. Multiple kinds are known to have inhabited this ocean throughout its long history, with the bulk being long-necked plesiosaurs, while several species of short-necked pliosaurs were present too, creating a diverse community of flippered predators. Some of them could get quite long, with the long-necked varieties typically exceeding 10 meters or 33 feet from head to tail, with the longest potentially reaching 15 meters or 49 feet, such as Elasmosaurus. Such length gave them extraordinarily long necks that contained up to 70 vertebrae, more than any other known animal. And these necks weren't just for show. Despite their impressive lengths and appearances, these long-necked plesiosaurs didn't really have the most voracious diets, as they were highly specialized for catching small to medium-sized prey. Given the narrow nature of their mouths and necks, it is believed that they would have used their necks strategically to approach small fish from below, while their large bodies remained hidden out of sight, giving them the element of surprise. Once they struck, it was clear that they were formidable hunters, as like many specialized fishers, these plesiosaurs had teeth that were angled in such a way that they created a natural trap once closed, preventing slippery prey from escaping. In addition to fish, it is believed that they also hunted ammonites, squid, and other small marine animals, making them successful mid-level predators. However, the real terrors among the plesiosaur family were the pliosaurs. These short-necked variants had absolutely massive heads that could exceed 3 meters or 10 feet in length, and were filled with enormous teeth designed for killing large prey. Pliosaurs like Liopleurodon and Chronosaurus, which may have inhabited parts of the Tethys during the Jurassic and Cretaceous respectively, were apex predators comparable to mosasaurs in their lethality, with some estimates suggesting they could reach lengths of 10 to 13 meters, or 33 to 43 feet, and possess bite forces that rivaled those of Tyrannosaurus rex. Across its 200 million year existence, was absolutely the last place you'd want to visit. And just to really drive it all home, remember that the creatures mentioned today represent only a fraction of what actually lived there. The Tethys also housed massive sea turtles, some reaching 4.5 meters or 15 feet in length, enormous marine crocodiles like Dirosaurus that survived the end Cretaceous extinction, giant ichthyosaurs during the Triassic and Jurassic that could reach lengths of over 20 meters or 65 feet, comparable to modern sperm whales. And of course, the ocean itself was harsh, with extreme depth variations, powerful currents, and tropical storms that could trap and kill even the largest animals. And yet, despite all of these dangers, life not only persisted but thrived in the Tethys, creating one of the most biodiverse marine ecosystems ever documented. So where did it all go? Well, the Tethys began its slow demise as tectonic forces gradually closed the ocean basin over tens of millions of years. As the African, Arabian, and Indian plates moved northward and collided with the Eurasian, these collisions caused the Tethys seafloor to be pushed upward, forming some of the world's most impressive mountain ranges, including the Alps, Himalayas, and Zagros Mountains. By the early Miocene, around 20 million years ago, the Tethys had been almost entirely closed off, leaving behind only a few remnants like the Mediterranean Sea, Caspian Sea, and Black Sea today. But the marine life didn't disappear quietly. The end Cretaceous extinction 66 million years ago, caused by an asteroid impact, wiped out the Mosasaurs, Plesiosaurs, ammonites, and many other groups in a catastrophic event that reshaped marine ecosystems forever. Those that survived, including sharks and some bony fish, went on to repopulate the oceans, but in very different forms and configurations. Interestingly though, the Tethys wasn't quite done producing nightmares. because during the Eocene epoch, around 40 million years ago, a new apex predator emerged in what remained of the tethys, the Basilosaurus. This wasn't a reptile despite its name, but rather an early whale, and a monstrous one at that. Measuring up to 18 meters or 59 feet in length and weighing approximately 15 tons, Basilosaurus was a serpentine carnivore with powerful jaws and sharp teeth, designed for catching fish and smaller marine mammals, including other early whales like Dorudon, which it hunted with brutal efficiency. Fossil evidence from Egypt shows that Basilosaurus would target the skulls of juvenile Dorudon, crushing them with bite forces estimated at over 16,000 newtons, comparable to modern crocodiles and alligators. This early whale was essentially the Tethys Ocean's final attempt at creating an apex predator before the ocean itself vanished forever. Subscribe if these are not your bones. Thanks for watching.